Hi, I'm Leather Rock. Welcome to me live. And I just got back from playing guitar on the boardwalk. It is now 4:12 in the morning on a Friday night. And most people who don't play music for tips on weekends and stuff don't know this, but Friday night you would think would be a really, really great night. Friday night is really not the best night for making money if you get tips for playing music or something. I don't know why that is. It's interesting when I think about how much noise there is on Friday nights and Saturday nights. Sometimes Friday nights are quieter here. But out on the boardwalk, you just never know. From every day is different. Every experience is different. Generally, though, people hope that you're going to do better on weekends, so you try to always be out there on the weekend. Well, today, I'm telling you the people that I had to deal with, and you expect a certain amount of drunken people. That's kind of goes with the territory. But the people today, okay, I'll give you an example. There is this couple, and I have to describe it the way it is, so don't get on me later if I'm not politically correct, because you know I don't play those games. It was an interracial couple. It was a white man and a black woman. The man, I think he was trying to be a wise ass. He asked me if I knew who Tracy Chapman was. And I told him, yes, I did. And he said he didn't believe me. I said, she had one hit in the 80s. It was called Fast Car. And she was like a singer songwriter. And from what I understood of her, she did folk music. And he acted like he was surprised that I knew who she was. Then he asked me to do the song. And I said, you know what? I don't make enough. I don't get paid enough to just take requests. And frankly, I don't play anything except for either stuff I'm working on or chord progressions and things. Not that I owe you an explanation, but for the hours that I stand out here in the elements and the abuse that I have to deal with people, and I'm going to be expected to take their requests too. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. I said, I don't. Uh, I just don't get it. He had a $10 bill and he was dangling it in front of me. And people will do this. You wouldn't go in any other place of business for the most part and tease people. Maybe the drinking has something to do with it or something, but he was hanging it right over the hat. And normally I would say, you would have enough self respect that you wouldn't play these games and you would just ignore it. The money isn't that important. But if you've been out there over an hour and people are coming and going and they act like they don't even see you and stuff, then that $10 means something. So you kind of put up with much more abuse than you normally would. That just I guess it goes with the territory. And he finally gave me the $10. But I mean, I was pretty pissed off. And you got to keep your cool in these situations. And sometimes you think things that aren't really nice, and you really got to hold it together. So then there's this group of young guys. They look like they may have even still been in high school. Who's to say? And they passed me by. As they approached me, they all applaud. And you could tell it wasn't the we like what you're playing. It was kind of just, being wise asses and stuff. And then instead of keeping on going, you see, that's the thing is that there's some music that is the kind of music that you listen to for hours and hours and hours. And then there's a music that's just this disposable, harmless, pleasant stuff that's great for when you're going between point A and point B. And and if I'm lucky, just throw in something in the hat while you're going on down the road. But what? I like it when people are going where they're going, especially when they're intoxicated because they get really disruptive. So these people, they decide to just stand in front of me. And of course, not only do I not know what they're going to do because, drunken people are unpredictable in groups, you never know. And the usual people that are behind me on the stage that I always thought were looking after me, they weren't there for the most part. So I knew I was on my own. And then they're kind of gathering around me. And not only did I feel intimidated because they're so close to me, but my concern in any busker will tell you that they don't think other people can see them, and they certainly can't see the change hat. And again, this is people that are interfering with your livelihood. So finally, I had to say something to them that I was feeling uncomfortable. If you start things with I instead of you, it doesn't sound as accusatory. And, sometimes people take the hint. And they finally went on down the road, but like, my God. And there, some crazy guy that decided he would start dancing near me. And at first I was amused by it and I laughed and thinking, the guy's harmless, right? But he would not stop. And he just stayed there. And I'm thinking, do I have to leave? And I told him, I says, you know what? This is my spot and this is my job. And do I need to leave and find another place to earn a decent living? Because, you have a whole boardwalk and, you see somebody is doing something, you don't need to go right there and do your thing. And he just wouldn't take a hint. And I actually thought that I was going to have to call it a night very, very early. This was like in my second hour there. And I was in front of Boardwalk Hall, which seems to be my favorite place. But so after that, occasionally people would be nice and stuff. And you cannot tell, there's no rhyme or reason as to who's going to stop. You can't tell who's going to be kind. You can't tell who has money. Honestly, you can't tell. There's no rhyme or reason to it. One thing I figured out, if there's families involved, a lot of times they give the money to the child and the child does it. If it's a couple and if the couple was a man and a woman, usually the man will do it, but not always. But and with some of these young people, sometimes I feel bad because I assume that they're going to be obnoxious because many kids are rude. But then sometimes they'll be nice, and you just don't know. So what ends up happening is you get a feeling of being destabilized because there's so many unknowns and so many things that you don't expect that you encounter. And sometimes you get on the defensive thinking that you're going to expect the worst, and it ends up being benign. So as a result, you really, it's like if you had any sixth sense before, it's been totally thrown off. I don't know if this is true for other street players, but that is, I never had this um, unknowing sense when I was a stage dancer. And again, when you're a dancer on stage, you get tipped also. And I had a much clearer idea of where and when I was going to get tipped then as a stage dancer than I do now playing guitar. I don't know why that is. Oh, when I got out of there, I decided to step by my garden. And you know that it's always a risk to go out to the garden wee hours because of our friendly neighborhood Atlantic City Police Department. And, I'm really not in the mood to be messed with by them, but I wanted to tend my cat's grave and I wanted to pick some herbs in case I want to go thaw out some hamburger meat or something. So I want to show you, if you haven't seen it, this is oregano and it's organic. Everything we grow there is organic. And inside here, I also have basil. And basil smells so good. I got some tomatoes earlier today. One of the things I like to do is cut up tomatoes and put fresh basil and chop up a little bit of onion and throw in some olive oil and toss it and let it sit for the flavors to meld together. And basil and tomatoes just go so wonderful together. And I also like to freeze extra basil. You can dry basil and you can freeze it, and basil is great in tomato sauce. And I also picked some curly leaf parsley. You also have flat leaf parsley there, but this is the curly leaf. I didn't want to spend too much time in there because not knowing when the police might go around, especially, I noticed even a couple of days after shootings, they like to come around more sometimes, like they're looking for different things and stuff. So, yeah, this smells good. Uh, oh, there's something I got the other day I want to show you. Please don't fall. I want this guitar. Check this out. This is a real official seal of the city of Atlantic City. I stole it from a trash can. You know, whenever they have marathons or anything, then they wrap up their trash receptacles in plastic so that you can't open them. And then they make these temporary ones that have half of them are recycling and half of them are for trash. And they stick this sticker on. And I decided, you know what? I want it. So I took it. And I'm not too worried about all the cameras that are on the boardwalk. Because the way I see it, if I followed a police report when my tablet became lost May 1st, and whatever forms, and then they checked if anything was turned in, and of course it wasn't. And if that footage of it being picked up didn't show up on the, oh, you're depressed. Oh, I don't like people being depressed. That's not good. Being depressed is not good, but you know what? I understand depression. I'm still not doing too good after my cat's death and stuff. And if you hear some rap bullshit in the background, we've got some depressed. Um, where the hell? Yeah, ghetto people. Let me see where do I have. I'll pick, and this is my change thingy. When I'm playing guitar, when people put the money in my hat, then I take the money out and I put it in this. So if anybody steals my hat, they don't steal my money. Oh, and don't expect this to sound good. My G string is missing, and I don't want to open up a pack of my uh new Diodarios. So I would rather use the cheap Wish strings, and the G string is one string I don't have. Oh, oops, my shoe fell off. Can't have that. Sure, it's full. Mm. The missing string. Mm. See, when you have missing strings, it's easy to be inaccurate with your chording here. So that's why I really can't ever claim that I'm the best player on the boardwalk. The strings really fucking set up. It's a G string missing. And there's something else happened today. There was some chick, it was her birthday, okay. And you know what? I'm never going to ignore somebody on their birthday because my birthdays tend to suck. So birthdays are important, right? So she asked me to play her a birthday song. And you know, I can't not do that. Even though I don't take requests as a rule because, you know, if I had a bunch of songbooks and things, it's not that I don't know the chords. It's like, first of all, whenever you have a missing string, things are always going to suck. And my tuner went, the battery went dead. And normally the other tuners I use are the internet ones, but I don't have anything with me when I'm out. So, the internet wouldn't do me any good. But anyway, I said for her birthday, I was just throwing crazy lyrics out because she was okay. Let me set it up for you. She had a bunch of tattoos. She had real white skin, long black hair, which I couldn't tell if it was real or not. Not that it matters, but she looked kind of tough, right? So, and I'm always worried about people's safety when they're out there on the streets late at night and stuff. So I was messing around and I think, happy birthday, happy birthday. I hope nobody gets, if they do, I'll not start that off their ass. I don't like messing with chicks. It makes me mad. It makes me mad. If anybody messes with you, I get mad. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I hope you get lots of weed, smoking lots of marijuana. That's what I wish you. Lots of weed. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Smoke lots of weed. And pass it to me. Pass it to me. Pass it to me. I know that's bad. I know it sucks. But when you have missing strings and you're not even sure it's in tune, and I'm going to say something, I don't mean to come across arrogant. I'm not highfalutin. I don't try generally to be what I'm not, except there is something to be said for fake it till you make it. And, but they don't pay me enough to give the 100% effort that I could be. And it seems like it's a bad attitude. I mean, it's like in the day I would tease my hair up and it'd be perfect and everything, and I would put in so much effort. And at least in LA, they acted like they appreciated it. But in the state of New Jersey, I'm sorry. Atlantic City has come a long way. And you look, if anybody's seen the commercial they have out now, it looks like this fancy, glamorous, wonderful place, you know. But I'm thinking that's all geared to the tourists. This is what you see. They want you to come here. They want you to spend money. They want you to stay in the casino hotels. And they're showing all these attractions that cost money. The only thing that they showed that didn't cost any money is that you can run around on the boardwalk. But there's so much it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you what it's like when you actually live here. And if you want to be a part of the ecosystem, and if you want to do something as simple as playing guitar on the boardwalk, and that should be considered a peaceful act. It's not bothering anybody. And if you have to worry about police, and then if you have to worry about aggressive panhandlers and rude people, it's not for the faint of heart. What else did I want to tell you? There was free food up there, but all there was pizza, and I don't eat cheese, so I left it for the hungry people. Even though all I had today, and I wanted to talk about this in my earlier live stream, I had some sourdough bread and I got some guacamole, and I just tore off pieces of the sourdough, and it was real sourdough, and I love real sourdough, and I just put the guacamole on that, and I had that twice today, and that and coffee and tea is all I had. So I was going to thaw out some hamburger meat, before I went out to play, but I forgot about it. And you know, you could only have it out for a couple hours in room temperature, and then you have to put it in the refrigerator. And you know, here you can't leave anything unattended because of the mice and other things. Oh, and speaking of mice, I rescued another mouse today. Earlier, I don't believe in glue traps. I think they're absolutely disgusting and atrocious, except when it comes to insects. Then I'm not so equitable. So, yes, according to PETA, I am a speciesist because I don't value all life forms equally. Well, you know, sue me if I offend you. But so I heard this squeaking, and I react to squeaking kind of like I do with cats. It gets my attention, you know, and I like the mice, even though I don't like that they eat things. I don't like that they shit all over. And I certainly don't like when they get into our food and ruin it. And, you know, that's something I don't like about them. But I'm hearing the squeaking, and then I didn't hear the squeaking anymore. And then all of a sudden I looked down, and here I have these miniature glue trap things that I don't stay out where the mice can get them, obviously, but I sometimes take the glue and I spread them on some surfaces all over. And this sounds disgusting, but it's true. All over the outside of the refrigerator, I have the glue, and every dot of glue attracts things. And I have glue things set aside on angles, propped up, so that the mice don't get affected by them. Well, unfortunately, some glue got smeared on the leg of a chair in the kitchen, and a mouse was stuck to it. And I've learned that alcohol can burn their fur and can get in their eyes and has fumes and stuff. So it's much better to use an oil of some kind. And there was a bunch of salad oil in the kitchen, and I poured that on a washcloth and a paper towel, and I very carefully wiped the mouse, and he was like moving like I thought he was going to bite me. I had to keep my finger out of the way, and I carried him to down the stairs, and I was trying to open the door, but my hands are too oily. And I heard the drug dealers and stuff outside, and I was yelling through my door, "Please open my door for me!" And those sons of bitches, instead of staying there, they kept on going down the road. You know, nice people. So finally, I grabbed my hat that I put my tips in, and I grabbed that. I used that to turn the knob on the door, and I'm trying to let the. I was going to let the mouse loose up the street a bit where there's some grassy area, but I dropped the mouse, and he ended up crawling back in my building through a hole in my stairs. So I think he's in the downstairs somewhere, he or she. And I would have liked to wipe the glue off even better so that he doesn't get restuck something else or have something get stuck to him. But there's nothing I can do about it now because they're gone. Yeah, yeah. Does it seem weird that I care that much about the mice? But they're the closest thing to pets I have now. And if you look at their faces up close, they're kind of look like the squirrels do, or even the rats in some ways. They got the dark eyes and the gentle faces, and they got whiskers, and they make the squeaking noises I find kind of endearing. And yeah, I heard that we used to have neighbors that apparently were doing terrible things to mice that they found. I'm so glad that they got evicted, even though that's not why they got evicted. They got evicted just because they weren't paying rent. But I would think that that should be grounds for immediate eviction if you're caught torturing animals. That's sick. Just because it's a mouse doesn't mean it's still not a sentient being that has feelings. And like I've seen some people on the boardwalk that try to go after the squirrels. They try to step on them and stuff. And the squirrels, for the most part, aren't afraid of people on the boardwalk because they're so used to people feeding them. So that's a hell of a thing to do. And then, with all the families that are around, kids can be witnessing things like that. So, there's some things that I can't abide by, and animal abuse is one of them, you know. And even though I'm not a vegetarian, still, you don't need to torture animals. That's sick and it's unnecessary. And I won't stand for it. And I won't stand I knew somebody that was in and out of prison that used to take crickets and used to take the wings off them and stuff. And he admitted that to me in a letter he wrote. And I said, dude, I said, how can you think that's okay? And I guess it shows that there's a correlation between people that are capable of doing those things and the kind of people that are recidivists that keep on staying in our criminal justice system. And meanwhile, there I am playing guitar at weird hours so that I could stay out of the criminal justice system because I've got this asshole cop on the 4 to 12 shift. And the more I think about it, about this cop, the more I'm thinking that if I do have a run-in with him again, I want to talk to him about just what an impact statement. It's kind of like if you've ever been in an abusive relationship and you try to get your partner to understand they are hurting you, that they're what they're doing to you, because at this point you don't realize that they're just either incapable of caring about other people or they just don't care about you. And so it's a mind fuck because you can't get them to understand. Well, I would like to have a dialogue with this police officer who I have a feeling he probably thinks I'm homeless like all the other people that he seems to hate. And again, it shouldn't matter whether I'm homeless or not. You don't abuse people just because they're poor. That's sick. That's unnecessary. What, is it a pecking order that we all have to find somebody that's lower than us that we can abuse? And if a cop is doing this and they wonder why they're being abused now, I'm not saying it's right to abuse cops. It's not right to abuse anybody that doesn't deserve it. But that said, it would be nice to think that you could defend yourself. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with an authority figure like a police officer, you can't defend yourself because it's considered resisting arrest. You're supposed to just put up with whatever they do. And sometimes they do pretty despicable things. And anybody that's been watching the news for the past couple of years, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm being forced to play late at night. And even though I have more energy at night, what this has done, because I think I'm a biphasic sleeper, meaning that I don't sleep one steady like 8 hours. They say people are supposed to get. I do it like half at a time. But because of my having to play guitar only at these hours, first of all, it's cut my money in by about, I'm making a quarter of what I normally could be making. I'm estimating. So it's hitting me deeply in the pocketbook. It's also, I'm tired. I have been having, I had such a backache the other day. Let me show you where it was. It was so bad, I actually had to take a pain pill. And I'm not a pill popper. It was like a lower back thing. I don't know if it was because I'm bent over or my shoulders are hunched, or maybe it's the pressure of the strap back of my neck. I don't know. I actually took a pain pill that my dentist, a former dentist, had given me. They had oxycodone in it and one of the over-counter things, I forget. And I am very, very anti-narcotic, but the pain was that bad. And it still only took the edge off. And I smoked a little weed with it, which, by the way, hint, 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 I am out of weed. There was no roaches, and I can't see in the dark. And there's just somebody asleep up at the social service agency up the road, and no roaches. And not a whole lot of money, but more than I would have gotten if I had not gone out. So, and I'm going to expect to go out again tomorrow, and hopefully I will do better. And hopefully maybe there won't be so many assholes out there. Because I'm telling you, nobody needs to deal with abuse when they're just trying to make an honest living. And it was particularly stressful today. I lost my cool. I had to yell at like about 4 different groups of people or individuals. And when this one crazy guy started dancing, whatever, I honestly thought I was being run off my spot. So, but when I went to the Tropicana afterwards, I almost set up near the beer garden, but I just wasn't feeling it. So I went home. All right. Keeping it short, sweet. It's 29 minutes, 38, 39, 40 seconds. So this will be just under a half hour. You guys have a good night. Be safe. I'll talk to you soon. Good night.